Recently, we have been reporting on what appears to be a new phenomenon in Sweden. These are called humiliation crimes, where young Swedish boys are attacked by packs of immigrant youths and not only beaten and robbed, but often forced to undergo humiliating abuse, including sexual assault. One recent case involved a group of young African teenagers who kidnapped an 18-year-old Swedish boy, robbed him, beat him, and even urinated on him. This weekend, 2 Swedish boys were grabbed by a pack of immigrant youths who took them to a cemetery, beat them, robbed them, forced them to undress, and sexually assaulted them. 2 young men have been identified, and pre-trial custody has been requested. Now, as if that wasn't sickening enough, the Daily Mail, quoting the Swedish daily Aftonbladet, reports that after beating, raping, and cutting the boys' legs so that they couldn't escape, the hoodlums actually attempted to bury them alive in an open pit. The Swedish news outlet Aftonbladet reports that the 2 boys are in custody, aged 18 and 21, as described in the Samnytt article. The link is in the description box below. In addition, the ordeal allegedly lasted about 10 hours. The conservative Swedish outlet Fria Tider identifies the 2 suspects as being Tunisian and Iranian. The following is Aftonbladet article quoted by Daily Mail. Boys buried alive in a pit. New information on the night of terror in the Solna Cemetery. During the night of the torture in Solna Cemetery, the victims were also buried alive in a pit, according to information to Aftonbladet. At one point during the night, the 2 underage youths were forced to undress, forced down into a pit in the ground, and the burial of them began, sources tell Aftonbladet. The following is the article from Samnytt. 2 men are wanted held in custody for the torture-like assault on 2 boys in the Norra Cemetery in Solna, north of Stockholm, this past weekend. The men are 18 and 21 years old respectively, have a non-Western immigrant background, and are well known to the police for earlier crimes. It was about 11 p.m. on Saturday that 2 boys were kidnapped and taken to the cemetery, where they were forced to undress naked and were subjected to aggravated, protracted, and abusive assault and sexual abuse and aggravated robbery. 2 men are arrested shortly after the incident. The detention custody has been requested for probable cause on the higher grade of suspicion for kidnapping, aggravated assault, rape, and aggravated robbery. Both suspects have non-Western immigrant backgrounds, but are Swedish citizens. They are well known to the police and social services. The 18-year-old was earlier prosecuted for theft, while the 21-year-old has been convicted for, among others, arson, unlawful driving, drunk driving, several narcotic offenses, and theft. And why the 21-year-old has not yet begun to serve his sentence for arson last summer for 1 year and 6 months in prison is not yet clear. The motive for the crime is still not yet clear, as well as to what relationship, if any, the victims and the perpetrators had to each other. This does appear to fit into the category of humiliation crimes in which these young immigrant hoodlums are showing their disdain for Swedish people in general. It is a shame because I don't think that speaks to all immigrants in Sweden, even among the quote-unquote problem groups from the Middle East and Africa. Western European governments are largely responsible, whether they wanted to be a more culturally diverse society, needed manual labor, wanted to keep their population levels from declining, or just wanted to help refugees and phony refugees, the immigration experiment has failed. For one thing, the Europeans are caught on late in the game after several years to the idea of assimilation. It was enough that they had workers to do the jobs educated Europeans wouldn't do. Retreat to the ghettos and do whatever they wanted. Only in recent years have the Europeans stressed the need for immigrants to learn the language, respect the values and traditions of that country, and assimilate. For all too many, it is too late. They also picked the wrong countries to bring people in from. They should have known decades ago that Muslim immigrants were going to resist many of the freedoms that were being practiced. They should have known that certain immigrants would refuse to assimilate into the open and free societies that they were coming to. Now, with militant Islam on march, those neighborhoods where immigrants settled have become no-go zones. How the Western European governments responding to all of this? The migrants, refugees, or whatever they are, keep coming one way or another. Overwhelmingly young men of military age. Nobody has any idea who those people are or how old they are. Many of these men are in their 20s and they have learned to lie about their age, say that they are minors, so that the sentences for their crimes will be lessened. Sweden is a classic example. The result of all of this is mass crime, mass rapes, mass murders, terror attacks, and robberies. Not to mention the spread of COVID-19. The police and border services are simply overwhelmed. Most Europeans are aware of the American expression Old Wild West and what it refers to. I have heard many Europeans joking using that expression. I imagine many are now using it to refer to Portland, Seattle, Chicago, and other European cities that are going up in flames. But make no mistake, the Wild West has come to Europe as well. And on both continents, it is time to send in the cavalry.